here's the recording. Let's pick up now. I'm logged in, so I can launch this lab again. Launch the lab. All right. And looks like it's not complaining now. I'm logged in. It does log me out every 30 days or something. So, all right, there we are. So it's loaded this page. Here's the product category filter. So I want to have the request that does that, but to make my life simpler, I'm going to clean up all the old stuff in Burp. So I go into, I don't care about your new release. I go into HTTP history. All this old stuff is not important, so I delete history, clear history, yes. All right, now I make a request to filter for gifts. There. That's the product category filter. Okay, so now here's the thing that filtered by gifts, so I can send that to the repeater. And like I always do, the first thing I always do is just send it without modifying it to make sure that repeating is allowed. And it is allowed. I get a 200 OK. So now there's a SQL injection here in gifts. So what I want to do, let's go back to the instructions. OK. You need to determine the name of the table and the columns it contains. So they tell you here you can find some useful payloads on the SQL injection cheat sheet. I'll just go to the solution here and see. I just want to, the first thing you do is determine the number of columns. So I'm going to do what they told us in the project. I'm going to use null. So it's going to be plus, apostrophe plus union, select, null, and then dash dash. That'll look for one column. So if I run that one, I get a server error. If I do null, comma null, I need a comma, not a period, then I don't get an error. So there are two columns. So now I'd like to know if they're alphabetical. So I'll put in a ABC here and run that. And I don't get an error. And I can put in the next one, DEF, single apostrophe, and send, and that also is okay. So I have two columns that are text-based here. So that's, I can get information there, so that's the first thing, that's the number of columns. Now, here's how you retrieve the list of tables. You get table name from information schema tables, and that should be familiar to you from, we've done this in one that I wrote long ago. So I select table name, and then I don't care about the DEF. I have to have second column there. From information schema tables. I think I need like underscores instead of dots here. Let's go back to the instructions. Information underscore schema dot tables. Okay. Information underscore schema dot tables. If I haven't made a typo or anything, that should do it. That should give me the table names. So it did give you 200 OK, so it didn't crash. And if I just scroll down in the response, here I see clothing and shoes, and here I see a table name, domain, UDT usage, PG, static, sequences, a whole lot of table names. Now I want to find the table that contains user data. And you just have to find a table that looks like it might contain users and passwords. There's no perfect way to do this. You're just hoping whoever wrote this thing used an understandable name. And in fact, they did. If you go down here, you're going to find a table named users with some random letters after it, just to make sure you have trouble finding it. You really have to do the SQL injection. Administrable something, authorizations, user mapping. And you can hunt through it like this. You can also search for, say, user. And then just, there's 14 of them, and I can go through this way. That's probably the fast way to find it. User mappings, user this. That was it there. Users, TEXAD. That's the users. And like I say, they put some random letters here, which are going to be different for every student, just to make sure you've really done it. So that's the name of the table. Now that I have the name of the table, I can get the columns. You get column name from information schema columns where table name equals the expected table. So it's going to be column name from information schema columns where table, where table name equals, okay, table underscore name equals that, there. That should give me the columns in that user's table with the random letters in it. If I haven't made a mistake, which I often do, okay, it looks like I got it right. So now down here we should get the columns. I got toys and games. Here's columns. So the one column is username and one column name is password. And you see there's random letters involved here. So I'm in business. So now I just want to select usernames and passwords from users. Okay, so instead of selecting column name, I want to select username, which has this name. Okay, that's the name of the column. And instead of DEF, I'm going to select the password here. Okay, from that table, users, and all I need is the name of the table, so I don't need any of this stuff. From, I think a plus before it, right? From plus, yeah, and then just the name of the table. All right, if I've done it right, it's there. And like I say, when I'm doing this for real, I have a notebook file where I'm keeping track of every query, because I usually have to have many tries to get it right. I've just had enough practice in this environment that I'm actually getting some things right. Looks like I did get it right. And so now, if you go down here, I'm just going to have username, password pairs. So I have Wiener, password, and they're sort of alphabetical or something, so they're sort of mixed together. Then I got administrator password. There we are. That's the administrator password. And you see they're not messing around. It's like 20 random characters. So I can win now by going to log in as the administrator. Administrator. And that ridiculous password. And I'm in. And so that will show that I won. All right. So there's that one. All right. And, all right. And here's some of these others that are quite simple. I'll just demonstrate a couple of these while I'm here. This is where you determine the number of columns returned by the query. These are little steps. We've already done part of this before. Let me clear out these other things. So just to determine the number of columns, I'll do these next two because they're real short and easy. All you got to do with this one is determine the number of columns. It's the same thing, a SQL injection in the product category filter. So after the lab loads, there. Okay, this is the product category. So I'm going to clear the old junk out of burp, proxy, history, clear the history. Now I go here and do a filter for like lifestyle. All right, and there it is, filter category of lifestyle. Send it to the repeater and run it once to make sure it works. And you get a 200 okay, so it works. So lifestyle apostrophe union select null dash dash. I think that's all I have to do. Let's see what that does. Okay, that's an error. So I add more nulls. And that's also an error. So I add another null. And there's still an error, so I think I've made a mistake. So let's take a look, because I think 3 is the answer. Let's go back to here and see. Here's the solution. A union select null. Well, union select null, null, null. Did I miss a plus or something? Plus, oh, I think I needed a plus before the union. That's what's missing. Okay. I needed a plus here. Okay. Because that's what I thought. Now, 3 isn't working. No. Oh, that's because I have a period instead of a comma. All right. 3 works. That's what I thought. 3 works. You just have to be careful not to make typos like that. And like I say, if you make any typos, it doesn't work. So it takes a lot of practice to get good at this. 2 doesn't work, but 3 does. All right. So, and I think that's all that matters. I think I'll win just from doing that for this one. Yeah, I won. All you had to do was find out that 3 columns works. And the next one just takes you one little step further, which is finding the column containing text. So you go here, and again, launch the lab. And it's going to be the same setup, a vulnerability in the product category filter. You can tell they did just what I would do. They made a bunch of these labs by just having small modifications on the same base content. All right, so go to burp and clear out the old junk. Delete history, clear history, okay. Then filter for like pets. And here's the thing that filters. Send it to the repeater. Execute it once to make sure it works. Now, put in an apostrophe plus select. Same thing we did before is the first thing we're going to have to do. Select plus null. And then a dash dash. First, let's find out how many columns there are. That's an error. So try comma null again. Oops, got to spell it right. Okay. And 2 is also an error. Let's try 3. 3 is an error. 4. And 5. Okay, I think I fouled it up. Let me go and look at the instructions. I must have made a mistake of some kind. Plus union select null, null, null. I probably forgot a plus or something again. Plus, oh, I forgot the union. That'll do it. Plus union plus select. Okay. Now, as 5 fails, but I think 3 is the right number. There. All right, so 3 is the right number. I get a 200. Now, to find the alphabetical field, I just put an alphabetical thing in here like A and see what happens. And that's an error. So I change that back to null and try putting an A here. And send, and that's okay. So now I know the second column of 3 is alphabetical. That's all there is to it. You know, these are little steps that get you in the direction of solving a problem. I think that's all I had to do. Yep, move it around. Yep, so yep. Next step is to identify a column compatible with string data, perform a union attack that returns an additional row containing the value provided. I should have already won. And I put in an A, so I should see an extra row here, and I have an extra row containing an A. So I won. Somehow I'm not seeing it tell me I won here, which is rude. Maybe I need to put in more. Let's try B, C, D, E, F. Maybe you had to put in that specific stuff. All right, I don't know why it's not letting me win. I've accomplished it. Let's see. The lab will provide a random value that you must make appear. Oh, okay, so how do I find that random value? Let's see, I must have missed it somewhere. Oh, make the database retrieve this string. Okay, you have to give it exactly that. Okay, fair enough. So it's not failing. I'm just not reading the instructions carefully enough. I have to put in that particular random value. Whoa, it didn't work. Let's go back here and copy it again. Right-click, copy, double-click, paste. There, now I have this QF nonsense. There. Now that will appear in the response, QF, G, and all that. And now I win. Okay, I just had to read the instructions more carefully. All right. So anyway, there's some simple SQL injection attacks to try. And that's all I wanted to show you tonight. I'm going to stop the recording.